that moment when you actually detected what happened?
But at that point, they never told me that I had cancer.
How did you feel when it repeated?
Sarcoma is 1% of all cancers.
Who said that we could help if they're not able to really ask for it?
We just want you to live the best possible life you can live. And that's what our impact is.
Cancer, a word that brings in a lot of fear, unanswered questions, and silence. But what if we spoke about it a little different today? Welcome to GoMAD, a space where we talk about what often goes unspoken so that answers replaces fear and knowledge replaces doubt. On this World Cancer Day, we're sharing a story not of illness but of strength, survival, and hope. Today's guest on our channel is Miss Oraya Sayeed, a cancer warrior who battled the disease from a very young age. Her journey reminds us of something incredibly important, that listening to your body, detecting early, and seeking help on time saves lives. This conversation isn't just for those battling cancer, it's for every single one of us to be more mindful, more aware, and more proactive about our health. Because cancer always doesn't announce itself loudly, sometimes it whispers. Let's listen, let's learn, and more importantly, let's not be afraid to act. Oraya, thank you so much for choosing to share your journey with us. Welcome to our channel. We'll start from the very beginning, right? So, cancer is a big word for a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it would have been the same for you. Would it be possible for you to share that moment when you actually detected what happened?
So it was interesting because at 13, I actually never knew that I had cancer per se. So I'll start with that. When you said that cancer is a big word and people don't like to use it, the doctors also kind of said that the word has such a negative association that they didn't want me to kind of have that mind space while going through the treatment. So my parents took a decision to not tell me that I had cancer. Going back to the diagnosis and how it started, and then I'll tie it back here. So I was 13. I wasn't a very proactive child, kind of lazy, used to sit and watch TV all day, had to be forced to go to tuitions. So my mom just kind of thought I was getting lazy as I started complaining of knee pain. It mostly came when I was walking upstairs, walking down, walking long distances. And with time, I started to develop a limp. But my mom didn't realize that, and she kind of put me into the gym saying, "You're being fat and lazy, you're a young girl, go exercise." And that's kind of how we were dealing with it in the house. And one day I went to watch a movie with my Masi, and we were in the mall walking, and she saw me limp, and she was just like, "Okay, it's not okay for a 13-year-old child to be limping. Can you please take her to a doctor?" Went to a doctor, did a couple of x-rays, and from there I think the diagnostic journey began. So the first was the x-ray. They kind of thought that they saw something there, an MRI. MRI led to a PET scan, a biopsy, and confirming the malignancy.
Okay.
But at that point, they never told me that I had cancer. I was told that I have a tumor. And like crocin is given to kind of deal with fever as well as headaches, chemotherapy is given for tumors as well as for cancer patients. So you need to take this medication, but you don't have cancer. So I think another reason that they didn't want me to know it is because cancer A is like a big, they call it the C word, doctors saying that, you know, it's scary, of course. And the second thing was my granddad passed away from cancer, leukemia, blood cancer, around 2 years before I was diagnosed. So I think just because we'd been in that medical environment and seen him go through this, they didn't want me to have that association with the disease.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of just went into this treatment not knowing that I had cancer at 13. Got out of it. I think at some point in school, someone in passing by just mentioned that, "Oh yeah, you had cancer now." And I went home crying, and I was just like, "Mom, like someone said I have cancer and she's such a liar, and why is she saying this? That's so wrong." And my mom was just like, Oraya, calm down. Like, there's something I have to tell you. And at that point, coincidentally, we were watching Yuvraj sing something, and my mom was crying. And I was like, why are you crying? Like, did I have cancer? And she was just like, yeah. So it was a really funny moment when I technically found out I had cancer, because I had already overcome it, and it was just a big weird mix of feeling really happy and excited that I survived this thing, but also like I was crying because I was like, oh my god, that was so scary, like I survived that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So technically, you didn't know that you had cancer
Yeah.
when you were battling cancer, right? Did you? What kind of side effects did you have? Did you face anything during the treatment?
For the diagnosis part, I think what was very important was noticing a limp, noticing the pain in the knee and just kind of avoiding it. And it wasn't something which was there for a short period of time, right? I wasn't only complaining for, say, 1 week. That may be like something which is negligible, but since it was persistent and it was going on for around over 2 months or 3 months, I think in retrospect we realized that that's something we should have probably looked into, and sooner rather than later. With cancer, often what happens is the diagnostic journey gets delayed so much because and that can be very risky, and at the end of the day that's what can cost people their lives. So just being more aware and in the moment would have been better for me.
Okay.
We still caught it very early on the first time. It was first stage going on to second. So we were still lucky, even though we really took our time. But that's why the second time we were it was very quick. From when the pain started to when I got diagnosed, I think it was just, and by the size of the tumor, the doctor said, I think you were diagnosed within 6 months of developing the tumor.
Okay. So you had a relapse after how long?
So I didn't have a relapse. A relapse is when your first cancer when your cancer comes back, the same cancer, it spreads in your body. In my case, I had crossed remission. Remission is 5 years.
5 years.
I was 11 years past my first cancer. So they say that it's the second primary cancer. It was the same type of cancer on a different long bone. So both times I've had bone cancer.
Okay.
And so the second time it was in the upper arm. And this time what happened was, I think, a very simple and small thing about healthcare and checkups. And it's funny because I work in healthcare now, and we were just having this conversation that how do you move people from living in bliss until their health actually pushes them to go for a checkup to actually proactive testing, screening.
Absolutely.
So in my case, again, I was working out, and I started to develop some sort of soreness is what I thought it was in the arm. And I kept telling my trainer, we haven't done like arm day, like why am I feeling so sore? And it was just really silly, and kind of ignored it, went off for like a vacation, came back. But what started to happen was, because of the tumor being there, my shoulder movement started getting restricted. And the moment your body actually physically restricts you from doing something is, I think, when the moment when we're like, okay, now since I have no other choice, I need to go and get this checked. So similarly, like even though I'd had it first and I should have been more cautious, I was just like, okay, like now my shoulder's not moving, I have no choice, let me go. And that's how they diagnosed the second cancer, because the movement was not happening because of the tumor being in the arm and kind of affecting the strength of it.
Okay. How did you feel when it repeated?
Repeated in what sense?
So 11 years post the first diagnosis, when you were again diagnosed, what was your mental state? I think by then you knew what it was.
Of course. The second time, I think, so the second time I of course knew it was cancer. It was really funny because I went for an MRI, and my mom wasn't in town, and my best friend's mom actually took me. I have a really good support system that way. She was in America with my sister, so my best friend's mom took me, and I was crying, and I really didn't, because I had this really bad, like the last time I got an MRI, I was diagnosed with cancer through the same doctor who this time I had again gone to and had suggested an MRI. So I had that bad feeling already going, but I was just like, okay, it's 11 years in the past. I was very arrogant about my health, because in my head I was like, there's no way I'm getting this again. And so the second time, so then I went for this thing, and we kind of shared the MRI results with my doctor back in Bombay, who I used to go for regular checkups and was looking into who is my regular doctor who looks into my health. And he kind of just said it's impossible for her to get cancer again. Please bring her to me in Bombay. Like, you guys need to fly immediately. Like, this is not possible. Like, the kind of cancer I have is called osteosarcoma. Sarcoma is 1% of all cancers. It is very rare for this particular kind of cancer to recur after 11 years. It is usually a cancer which occurs in children most commonly. And I was an adolescent a young adult, like 25 is when we got the second one. So it was also very shocking for the medical fraternity to see a case like this. And when we went to Bombay and we did the tests, and then they were like, okay, they confirmed the cancer. In my gut, I already knew it was there. But you kind of just try to push through to the doctor. I was like, okay, maybe it's a tumor and it's not cancerous this time. But that was just me being optimistic while I knew in my gut what the real case was. So it was really difficult to actually be diagnosed for the second time, especially because I think more than anything, it broke my arrogance about my health. Because I took a lot of care and in those 10 years to make sure that I'm at least doing everything right, living a good life. For me, I kind of really moved past the entire, I never had that fear of a relapse at all. That's how arrogant I was about it. So yeah, it was very difficult, of course. I think it was just a wave of emotions which we had to maneuver through. There was just too many things happening. But I think the crux of it would be it was of course heartbreaking, but I knew I had done it once, and I kind of again had that arrogance that okay, you know what, I'm going to do this again. There's no way I'm going to be this is going to not take my life.
Why do you term it arrogance?
I don't know what else to term it as.
Optimistic?
I would like to term it as optimistic, but I think that's I honestly live a very delusionally optimistic life. Whatever I want, however I may, from a day to day, and I think it comes from the fact that I've overcome these things. Maybe it's just optimism, but it's also just I think in my for me in my depths, I'm just I will not succumb my life to cancer. Like a plane crash, maybe, an accident, maybe, but I don't want the last moment to just be okay, yeah, Oraya passed away from cancer. That just doesn't sit right with me in my overall view of my life. And now that's just become not my fight against it, but my way to go about it.
That's what keeps you going. So I think that brings you.
It's
helps
healthy
you fight
arrogance.
Better. Yeah, exactly. So because generally arrogance is termed negative. That's why I asked you why you're calling it arrogance, because that's what's taking you ahead and probably keeping you.
Actually, instead of arrogance, I should term it as willpower.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything, but not arrogance.
Anything,
right?
but not. Yeah. I guess willpower, because I'm just this is not happening. The last story doesn't go that it was cancer.
Okay. So through both your journey, right? What has been the biggest challenge you faced? Let's split it into two, physically and emotionally. How's it been?
So since I'll take the physically first, because it's a little shorter of an hour. Not shorter, but it's. Okay, now I'm feeling like it's too much. But physically, I had bone cancer both times. So to put that into context, my right femur bone has been replaced with a titanium prosthetic, and my left humerus bone has been replaced with a bone graft from my right leg's fibula. So to say, both my long bones went through very drastic surgeries. And during the leg surgery, I had to practically learn how to walk all over again from scratch. Okay. And the healing for that was very difficult. A lot of physiotherapy goes into it, a lot of mental willpower, a lot of pain, because, you're kind of recovering with the surgery, but also the doctor suggests that you get into physiotherapy within the first 4-5 days of surgery. So I think that was the most excruciating pain that I felt after my surgery, because during the surgery you're really plumped up on painkillers and you don't feel a thing, so it's great. But the recovery post surgery is where it all kind of puts things into, like, when everything needs to come into place, and that's a lot to do with the physio and bearing the pain and then kind of healing and overcoming that. So it was really difficult, but I think what really, of course, helped was I can't imagine a life without my limbs. So the fact that I got to keep them, the fact that I'm able to physically do whatever I want today, I think that's something which really drove me to, constantly push myself and bear that little pain, because I had my entire life ahead of me. Like at 13, it was like a really long life, and like now at 25 again, like I'm just like, okay, there's no way I can have a non-functional arm. And this time during my treatment, things did come up on the table about amputation and maybe, or like maybe having the arm not functional at all. Like they said you could still have your arm, but it would just be hanging and dead weight. And I think all of those things just kind of like plugged into the desperation of how, and knowing how important your limbs are. So kind of took it from there and just really, like, till date, I mean, physio is a daily activity, yoga, exercising, it's kind of inbuilt in my lifestyle for the past 10 years. Even before this cancer, I mean, I make sure that I exercise frequently, on at least thrice a week, and I maintain that for myself.
Okay.
Mentally it was challenging because very different two journeys in the first cancer and the second cancer. So the first cancer made me, I was isolated, I was 13, I didn't understand what was happening around. Friends' lives are moving on. It's that very weird, fun teenage space, right? And I was pulled out of school and just kept at home because of the hygiene issues, and because of my low immunity, I was not allowed to meet people too often. So I think when I came out of my treatment and I was just thrown back into 9th grade, it was, I had a lot of social anxiety. I didn't like to be touched because I didn't know what it's like to like hug a person, or like, it was just very difficult for me because like no one had done that in so long with me. Like even my family would have to maintain their distance because, like, of course, like mom and my sister would, but like, because my immunity was so low that they couldn't risk any infection coming near me. So even if my friends came over, they would sit on one side of the house and I would sit on one side of the room, and I would sit on one side of the room. So going back to school with like a limp, a stick, no hair, a wig, in Delhi heat, 42 degrees, was really something which it made me very low, underconfident, because I just felt very awkward, out of place, shy. My friends were amazing. They really tried to be there for me and help me through this. But I think at that point, I don't even blame them. They didn't understand what I was really going through, and neither did I understand myself. So it was very lonely to kind of to navigate that. I think things got better as time progressed, but it took time. Like it took me a year or two to be back in school, to be okay and open again with friends. I think the second time what's happened is, I think the second time it was just like, during the treatment I was fine again. I mean, not fine, but it was just like, okay, it is what it is, need to get through it. Confident that we'll get through it, willpower, not arrogance. And then by the end of it, again, I knew, like from the first time I've faced cancer, I knew at the second time that people kind of drop your hand the moment you finish your treatment, because they think you've overcome the disease, and people will stop checking on you. People will stop, like trying to be there for you beyond a point, how they do while you're unwell and going through the treatment. But that's actually when you need the most support, when you need to get back into life, and you need to kind of ease into your like friend circle, your work, your career, everything again. That's actually when flight or fight mode ends, right? Because you've survived, right. But now you have the rest of your life to live, and a lot of it is changed. So to give context, before my second cancer, I had a business called Oraya Sayeed that I was running for 3 years. I was in a long-term relationship. I had a lot of confidence in my health, and that I would not fall sick again. And by the end of my treatment, I had to lose my business because I wasn't able to mentally cope with the stress of dealing with day-to-day ops. It was a cloud kitchen. Relationship fell through because it was too much. And then the confidence in the health broke. So I was left with my life, but a completely shattered human. But this time, I think my friends and family, I decide, and also I think it's an internal thing to receive help. You need to lean on people and kind of tell them that, okay, like I'm struggling and I need help. So I allowed myself that grace to like lean on my friends and lean on my family, and they also knew that, like, this time she really needs us. And I think I had a really incredible support system that was really there for me, and they made sure that whatever I needed was there. Whenever I needed, they would show up into my house. Yeah, so those were, so like, I think the second time it was more of a life crisis, like, because you're also a young adult, you want to build your career, and kind of everything, life as I knew it just did not exist after those 9 months of treatment. Let me put it that way, which is very difficult. And then plus the surgery, plus the mental health baggage with it. So it was very tough, but sailed through with the support of friends and family, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, poetry. Wrote a book then, hopefully publish it someday. Published a poetry book, which I
Wonderful.
don't think I'll gift you one right now after this. I would like love for you guys to have a copy. So that was nice. So I think what really helped me the second time was friends, family, and also like just a lot of self-love. I think going inward, spending more time with myself, being more in a quiet space, and taking things easy.
You've actually mentioned a lot of brave steps that you've taken in a very, very easy way. When you're saying it, I'm sure the journey would have been really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows up on your face, what it is like. And I'm very glad you're where you are today. So could you bring out what exactly would you expect from a caregiver? What I'm trying to highlight here is not that everybody, I don't think everybody would be able to open up and ask for what they want. Many of them spend their time through treatment in denial. So how is it that we could help if they're not able to really ask for what they want?
I think it's a very personal thing, because every person is different. And also, like, your circles are different. Everyone, like, you're different, your friends are different, and different friends you can have different expectations from is something which is very important to realize in life. So I think the way I can I don't think I can tell you how someone may be able to help a person who can't ask, but I think to give it some context, I can tell you what helped me.
Sure.
And maybe that helps others understand what they
Sure.
could possibly do for like a person who's going through this. I think during my treatment, what was really nice is, so during the first 2 months, I got a bunch of texts, right? Because everyone's wanting to check in on you and be like, oh, how are you doing? And they want to know, how's she doing? But those texts are dying down towards the middle and the end of the treatment, because people's lives move on, but
Yes.
you are still in that hospital bed going through your treatment. So if you're checking in on someone and you genuinely care throughout, and care beyond that end of her treatment as well. I think friends I've really respected and appreciated are the ones who didn't just check the first 1 or 2 months, but they checked in through and through, and they came and saw me when like things were over. They made plans with me, because also like it's important to get you back out there, right?
Yes.
So like maybe like even if it's like going for a movie with them or going for a lunch or a coffee, like making an effort towards me was something which matters to me. So another very interesting way, this was of course something we kind of asked for, because, so I mean, we realized that, everyone's there to help you, but Irna's my sister, and she was just like, Oraya, whatever you need, please ask your friends, because they don't know what to give you. So she told me this very clearly, and she's like, you need to ask. So I was running a business and I was struggling with managing the business and the thing. So the way people offered help was, my trainer was really kind. He was like, I can handle your finances for you. I can do your, Excel sheet indexing of all your orders and help you with that. One of my friends was like, okay, I run a PR and marketing company. I can make your social media posts. I'm very happy to help you with that. In your independent capacity, what are you capable to help the person out for? You should think of that. So and don't depend on them to think of it. Maybe you, so this girl offered it to me saying that, hey, listen, I run this, I do this all the time, I can make you some 10 social media posts, run ads, so you can at least keep your business going. From something as small as one of my mom's friends was just, we just told her, okay, Oraya needs to eat meds 3 times a day and we cannot skip a medication, but because my mom was my sole caregiver, so she was struggling to make sure that everything is in place. And my mom and my aunt. So what my other Masi's job was, she just used to call every day, thrice a day. First, she would send a message to just eat Oraya's medicine time, Oraya's medicine time. Then if mom doesn't reply saying she's had the message, then she would just call and say, okay, it's her medicine time. Something as small as that, you don't realize how helpful it is for a family going through what we were going through, because eating medicines is like 101 and you think that the person will not forget, but there's so much going on in the house that you invariably forget.
Forget it, yeah.
Other ways was, I think, like one of my friends, I used to get, because of chemo, you have a lot of bad taste and you feel really like sick. So she used to arrange popsicles for me from some home, someone from like a homemade place. And they would be like these sour candy popsicles, but all with fresh fruits.
Okay.
And she'd just make sure that I have a stock of that all the time so that, I the sour taste is a little better for me. One of my friends, she just kind of stayed in my house for 1 week and took care of me, because you don't need to only help the patient, you need to also support the caregiver. Yes. Is something which is very important. So my mom being the sole caregiver, and of course like my aunt who would come down, they both also needed breaks, right? Because my aunt lived in Chennai, she would constantly have to fly when my chemo cycle was there, but after she would leave, it would again be all on my mom. So then my friends started to come over and then they would take care of me, and then my mom gets a break and she gets to go out. And something which was really which she mentioned, and which is why I'm going to mention it here, is it would be really upsetting for her that she would go out and the only thing people want to know is, how's Oraya? How's Oraya? How's her treatment? What's happening? People are just trying to get their curiosity. I mean, I know there is concern there, but from my mom's perspective, she's like, it's the one night I get to go out and have a life for myself. In that also, if you all only want to know about Oraya, of course, I will tell you, but that the entire conversation and the entire night cannot circle around that, I also want to talk about something else or know about your life, because I don't want to talk about mine. So I think, caring for the caregivers, giving them time and space, supporting them, these were some ways which are on top of my head, which a lot of people pitched in and supported us. My sister was in the US, so it was very difficult for us to but what she would do is FaceTime me for 1 hour every morning, FaceTime me 1 hour every evening, and that was basically all the mental health and therapy I needed, because all we both did was just talk to each other, pour our hearts out, and just have that connection. So it doesn't matter how far you are, how close you are, but to be there for that person, you need to just figure out what your version of giving and caring in that moment looks like, and it will be very personal to you. So Irna had a friend who was who was into fitness. So she just told him that for my mental health, I need to make sure that someone checks in on me, that I work out every day. So all this guy had to do was just message her saying that, hey, I hope you've exercised. So it's different, right? You're capable of doing different things. So you should offer. So now, the way I tell, at least I try to position myself, if something goes wrong in someone's life, I don't say, let me know how I can help you. Give me a call if you need any help. I say, this is how I can help you. Let me know if you need anything, if you need me to do this or anything else. Give them that list. Tell them you can do their social media. Tell them you can call them. Tell them you can go to doctor's appointments with them. What are you good at personally is a very personal thing to you, and you need to figure out how you can support the other person with it.
Okay. Big message again for a lot of people. But are there people specifically you want to thank?
There are so many people to thank
sure.
that I don't think going into a list will necessarily do justice, and I'll invariably forget someone. But I think my entire rod of support system, the spine of it, was my mom and my sister. My mom, who just made sure physically everything was sorted for me, from the extent that she would not let she would make sure that everything from the morning to night, the treatment, the room I want, the bed I want, everything was organized and without a flinch, food, everything. And my sister just made sure that like my mental health was taken care of and stable. And I think those are the two things you really need to feel protected. You need to be protected physically and mentally, and I was really sheltered by them for that. And then I call it, one of my poems is just called like Rosebud. So it's like you're in the center, you're the rosebud, and you're like, right now really fragile. And then you have layers of protection. So my instant layer of protection was my mom and my sister, followed by my friends, followed by family, followed by well-wishers. So let's put it that way. And of course, like doctors who were incredible.
Wonderful. Okay, so with what you're saying, it looks like early detection is very, very critical, right? You mentioned it, in fact. How does it work otherwise? And how does it help if you detect early?
Yeah, so early detection is important because cancer is just a bunch of rogue cells in your body, and those rogue cells multiply at a very fast speed. Now, if you catch it early in its initial stages, like that's why it's categorized into stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, what happens in stage 1 and stage 2, maybe even, your treatment options are better. You have more options for treatment. You have more time to figure out what the way of the treatment will be. You can save your body parts. Like for me, I could save my limbs, my leg, my arm, and they didn't have to be amputated because it was caught early. In breast cancer, women's breast tissue can be protected if it's diagnosed in time. Lives can be saved. But what happens is if you delay the diagnosis, your treatment options reduce, your success rate of the treatment reduces. It causes more problems. If the treatment is just going to be a straightforward line, it becomes something very chaotic very soon. So, and cancer is a little tricky to diagnose. So that's why it's just very important to be very hyper aware, not hyper aware, maybe that's a little too much, but like be aware of your body. If you're having a pain and it's, like if I'm not saying that today I have a backache and I'm going to be like, oh, I have to go and get an MRI done. No, but okay, is this something which is persistently there? Is there something which is triggering it? Is there not? And worst case, you just go get an X-ray, right? Like, but just be a little careful about your health. Go to your GP, check something out if it raises suspicion in you. These things can just really change your entire journey if there is something to be taken care of.
True. Okay, so the whole perspective of why cancer is so scary for people is because you detect late, so your success rate is lower. So it ends up invariably that you will not survive is the perspective people have. So that brings it to the entire point that you will have to detect it early, which means you really need to be aware of your body.
Yeah.
When it comes to adults, maybe it's a little easier as long as you're aware that you need to be aware of your body. In kids, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
You were diagnosed when you were really young, not very young, but young enough,
30.
right? Mentally to deal with it is difficult, but physically you do understand that there's an issue. What would you like to tell listeners for those who have younger kids for who this is important?
I think, earlier there was this very strong belief, which we all had, that cancer is something which happens to people who are old. So at that point, when I'm saying people who are old, I would say maybe like 65 plus. And then eventually with time, we were like, oh, okay, it's happening 40 plus. Generally, I think everyone becomes careful and goes for their tests after 40 years old, because after that everyone's like, okay, one like annual general health checkup you do. But now with the kind of environment we all are living in, the changes that are happening, you're seeing cancers being diagnosed at 25, 30, 28. I mean, I've been in hospital bedrooms with 1 or 2 year old babies being treated.
Yes.
In those cases, it's even more difficult because other than crying, a kid can't even communicate, and a parent also finds it so difficult to understand. But I think it's just important to have the awareness that at this point and day and age, there is no particular age group for cancer. It can happen to you at any age. And if not cancer, there are many other reasons why, like health related issues. So I think a general health checkup once a year is not going to do anyone any harm necessarily. Or if, like, or at least if you have some problem, go to your GP, like, keep in touch with them. In childhood cancer, like, yeah, I think if your children are complaining of pain, now kids are a bit tricky because they can lie.
Yes.
So I don't know how to comment on that necessarily, but I think I would say notice the pattern. Is it something which he's just like complaining, oh, my stomach is aching early morning because, school nahi jana. Sorry, I don't want to go to school. Or is it just like a persistent pain where this child is constantly telling you that, okay, the stomach is hurting, and then you're like, okay, 1 week's gone, 2 weeks gone, and it's still there. So I think persistence is the key to notice something which is abnormal versus something which is normal. And then now what abnormal means can be anything. It can even be severe gastrics.
True.
It doesn't have to be cancer, but even that is good to know, no? Like, you can treat it. Why should they struggle, and why should they be like completely ignored? So just as a parent, pay a little attention to your child, which you obviously do, but I think it's that belief that nahi, bacche ko to aise kuch, nothing so severe can happen to my child. Don't break that belief. Your child's going to be healthy, is going to be amazing, touch wood, but just be a little more careful, be a little more alert. Even for young adults, like, now I think we're recommending, screening for women for breast cancer, even above, say, like 30 years and older. Like not 40 and 50, how it generally used to be. So similarly, like, go to your gynecologist, get your checkups done. For others, like, so just, I think it's just that constant, be in touch with your healthcare fraternity, because that will always just do you good. And I know that there's like a lot of trust issues in healthcare space, which is why, like, I personally chose to work in it. But I think it's just be smart about your own body.
So the first time you were diagnosed, you were 13, you said, right? As a girl, young girl, how did you deal with your menstrual cycles and your hormonal changes? Did your treatment have any effect on that?
So the first time I was very lucky. I hadn't started my menstrual cycles at that point. Okay. So that actually secured me, because the treatment didn't I think there is some, but the doctor basically told us because she's not had her menstrual cycles, this would not affect them moving forward. And so actually much after my treatment was when I got my menstrual cycles for the first time, and after that it was a very smooth, good flow, and everything was good and nice. What was actually a tough thing, and I don't think I brought it up earlier, was that during the second cancer, we spent, I think I mentioned, like, so they weren't able to identify, they knew it was cancer, but you need a biopsy of a confirmed diagnostics of a malignancy before they can give you chemotherapy. And we hadn't gotten that. It took us around a month because the tumor was so small that they weren't being able to take a biopsy very clearly. So it took us that 1 month. But what we didn't know would happen, that entire 1 month went and the treatment got delayed. And when the treatment was about to start and the treatment protocol was told, they told us that, okay, one of the side effects of this treatment protocol is infertility is something which would be on the table. What happens is, in men, it is 100% infertility after cancer. I should position that correctly. In men, it is 100% infertility after particular medications are given. It can be. And in women, at least for the kind of protocol that they had given for me, they said that it's not 100%. Women do get like their menstrual cycles even after this, and there can be fertility, but there is a chance of infertility, right? So they would play, I don't really know the exact numbers, but it was a very like, okay, there is this possibility, so would you like to freeze your eggs? And that's when I think I was really crushed, because I was 25, I was already dealing with all these things, and now this was another thing which I had to think about. Because when you're, when they're treating you at 13 and when they're treating you at 25, very kind of the doctors, but they also think about your longevity of life.
True.
They also see that, okay, this is what this person's supposed to do in the future. This is how her other organs need to perform. So we need to make sure we cater for that. And so my doctor told me, would you like to freeze your eggs? It's a personal decision, but we will tell you that you need to start your treatment ASAP. To push the treatment is a risk to you. And it is a personal choice. We will wait if you want to. And that was something which was very difficult because I had to kind of not even just consult with my family at this point. I'm 25, it's my decision. And went through the rounds with my gynecologist, tried to understand what it is, but there were risks associated with the egg freezing as well because my body was already going through a lot of complications, and then the egg freezing brings in more. So I chose to actually not freeze my eggs, but it was really sweet. My sister actually froze eggs for me at the same point of time, saying that if and when you need it, this is there for you as a reserve. And moving forward, so when I went through the treatment, we were suggested an injection which actually induces menopause, which I had to take on a monthly basis, which was, they didn't say that this would help or not help, but we were like, if it helps 10%, we'll take the chance, right? And because to put context to it, why they say this is, your body produces a certain amount of eggs every month, and the chemotherapy is constantly depleting it. So it's constantly trying to release more eggs. So what it does is very rapid egg depletion.
Okay.
That's from what I understand. This is not medical advice.
No problem. So which would also mean that it's not good for you in the long run.
It's not good for you in the long run. And so that was something which was also obviously very difficult because now you're not just thinking of your life now, you're thinking of your life later. But at the end of the day, my decision was that I need to survive now and figure out everything else later. The way technology and now AI is moving, I'm going to be fine.
Okay,
yeah, you need to be like positive and willpower. So we got this. Didn't do the egg freezing, went ahead with my treatment, finished the treatment, constantly been in care with my gynecologist, checking in, taking supplements, and yeah, long story short, eventually I did get my menstrual cycles again. We don't know the complete story yet, but maybe someday.
It's all right, I'm sure you'll be okay.
Yeah, so
has that ever bothered you?
I don't think it did until that moment. Because before that, if I'm being honest, even I was of the mindset where, yeah, I'm a woman, I'm supposed to make babies, and that's unfortunately, come on, let's be honest, that is what everyone thinks, right? That
sad.
This is the job of women, big hips and babies.
Yes.
And so it was, I think it brought me a lot of perspective because one of my best friends actually just came and asked me, she's like, Oraya, do you really want a child? And if you do, of course, everything will happen, but why do you want a child? And I think that started bringing up questions and thoughts where I was just like, yeah, why do I want a child? Of course you want a family, so I kind of just realized after a point when I was thinking a lot about it that more than internally, I was kind of it was the external societal factors related to the fertility that made me even more uncomfortable and conscious, because I was just like, okay, would someone want to date me after this? Would I be able to get married? Would someone want to spend the rest of their lives with me if this doesn't happen? Because let's remember at that point, we didn't know if this would happen or not. I hadn't had my menstrual cycles after my treatment. So I was going through a lot of this internal thought process. And additionally, I had also had a relationship that fell through. And one of the reasons it fell through was, of course, my health factors and the infertility, potential infertility issues. And so I just realized those were a lot of projected pains that and fears that I was dealing with than what I was dealing with on an internal level, because on an internal level, I was like, it was just really important for me to survive.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter how, what plays out after this, because that's what my doctors also said. We need to save the life at hand, and the quality of life will be as good as you make it, right?
True.
So that's kind of how these thoughts played out.
So with fertility thoughts in your head, with relationships falling apart, with survival itself as a question, I'm sure your mental state would be really, it would be really difficult to keep yourself sane at head first. You did mention that your family was a great support. your sister was there, your therapy was through her. Did you seek any professional mental help?
I did. I think, in fact, I've not mentioned it sooner, but someone who was incredibly invaluable during my entire healing journey was my therapist, who I kind of, got connected with during the beginning of my treatment, luckily and fortunately. And I think the way my sessions worked with her really shaped my entire life, and the entire kind of navigation from there started from my sessions with her. She isn't like I didn't go to a generic, I wouldn't say generic, a general therapist who does cognitive therapy. I went to a spiritual healer cum therapist. What I was doing with her was subconscious healing and therapy. Hypnotherapy is an easy way to put it. So where they take you into a relaxed mindset and state of mind, and over there they kind of bring out your internal fears and shine a light on them. It's initially sounds a little crazy to people who don't want to believe, but what was nice is that she gave me supplement reading material. She introduced me to a book called You Are Placebo by Joe Dispenza, who's a neuro scientist. And I really started to read and understand the connection between the mind and the body, and I think that was something which was incredibly life-changing for me. A quick instance to show what this did to me was, so he said that even something as, I think it was paralysis in his case, which got cured due to the mind-body connection through meditation. So what me and my sister would do every day, which is why I said we do the healing, is that we would talk to my, for context, I had a tumor in my arm. And I got a fracture within the first 2-3 weeks over the cancerous bone. That puts your life at risk. That puts your arm at risk for amputation, because what's happened is a cancerous tumor, there has been a fracture, and there is a risk of spread in the body because it can get into your bloodstream and it can spread. And they told me the only way for you to be able to do the surgery we planned, which is the one I've had now, to save your arm, is that if this fracture heals, because that's the only way the tissues will be safe enough for us to do the surgery that we have planned. And how do you do this? Is nothing. You just don't move, and if it heals, it heals. And the doctors at some point very categorically told us it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to do this, and worst case we can do the surgery, but then you're going to be at a 20% risk for a relapse. So it's not going to be necessarily very safe, so it's your decision, but everything was put on the table for us. And this is the time when I actually started my therapy with my therapist, and I started understanding the mind-body connection. And what my sister and I would just do every day, every morning, every night, is we would just talk to my arm. We would just say, "Hi arm, how are you doing? We are feeding you really good nutrients. We're eating a lot of I'm having bone broth, I'm having liver pate, I'm having all these healthy, nutritious things which support bone health for you to heal. So I hope they're reaching you." We would visualize white light, and I don't know, I personally feel like it was very interesting to just be talking to your body. I know it's usually it's positioned as, oh, you're crazy if you're talking to yourself, but I feel like you're crazy if you're not talking to yourself. Because if you're not talking to yourself, then you don't know yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
And so yeah, we did that for I think around 2-3 months, and when the time for my surgery came along and they had to take out the cast, and I was bandaged, my entire upper body torso was bandaged in a fracture. I couldn't get up or get down on my bed. I had a very tough treatment journey physically because of that. But I just wouldn't even, I was scared to sneeze, because I thought if I sneeze I could cause death in my life, because the cancer can spread. I mean, of course, it was a little extensive, but you're scared. So when they opened up the fracture and the bone was healed, and they were very happy, of course, but they also said that this is incredible that this happened. And I think that's when I really just believed that this mind-body connection, my therapy, it all kind of tied together into the success rate of the surgery. It was really interesting because for those like 3 months when my torso was tied up. All I wanted was to just feel water trickle down my back because I couldn't shower.
And how long was this?
This was for around 3 months before my surgery. I was stuck in that little dirty, like I don't know how to, the spaghetti top, which the day of the fracture, they couldn't cut off. So they just tied my entire fracture around it. So I was just in this like stinky, dirty thing. My mom, and I'm very like hygiene conscious, so my mom would just try and get into corners of the of the tie up to just make sure I'm clean, but it was really like I was basically a mummy. And I think the first thing I did after my surgery, when I could shower again and I just felt water trickle down my back, was the best feeling I've ever had. Till date, my showers are so important to me because for a moment I just go into that space where I feel water trickle down my back and I'm like, this is all I wanted for like those 3 months, every day, every night, to not sleep in this weird, like on your back in a weird cast, but like sleep just on the side, hugging my pillows. So now like my bed is like full of pillows and like I have a weighted blanket and I just like cuddle myself in.
Must have been really hard, right? The 3 months was...
It was
It's very hard to imagine.
Like I couldn't even
Staying
get up
stable.
from a bed unless someone like physically lifted me up.
But you could move? I mean, as in walk around?
I could walk around, but like the thing is, I could feel like the sensation of the broken bone in the arm. And because mentally I knew that, like my doctor said, keep it stable and that's the only way it'll heal. So I was like, I will do anything, like not even sneeze, not even breathe deep enough for like movement to happen in my body.
I mean, it's not an easy journey at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should ever term it as arrogance.
Yeah.
It's huge willpower for sure. Let's just put it this way. I think your journey is... You're just blessed to go through this journey to just understand life sooner and better.
I actually won't deny it.
Absolutely.
I always say this, that looking back, all my stars align. And this is something I knew from the first time. Because the moment, there'll be like these really horrible moments in your life and you're like, why is this happening to me? And then you'll move forward. And then when I look back, I'm like, oh, there's a chart and the map's mapping out. And my name's Oraya and the meaning of it is bright starlight, a group of stars in the constellation of Taurus. And I think it's just a very beautiful analogy to my life at this point. Because I'm just always saying that looking back, all my stars align. Even the smallest inconvenience is basically a nudge from the universe saying this is not meant for you. Be it a relationship, be it a business, be it the journey I'm on. It'll be sometimes, and I'm also just a very like okay, ye to karna hi, like I have to do this. So I think even my pushes are really hard because they're just like, as this woman is not going to change her path, so let me just like redirect her. And so it goes on, and I think I keep getting navigated, and it's just the flow of life. And looking back, I'm like, oh wow, that's like a beautiful constellation I'm following.
That's a beautiful way to look at life. I feel that it's more to do with the way you've accepted things and the way you look at things. I think that's why your journey is defined this way, right? Moving on, have you ever felt that because of the mental state that you're in, you've had your hardships, I will never deny that, but the way you've taken that forward, has that been a reason for you to be able to go through this positively? Or rather, your body has listened to you because of that?
I think I'll defer a little.
Okay.
I think what was very interesting was you said, acceptance and stuff. So initially when I got out of the second cancer, I would tell everyone, it's my resilience, my willpower. Yes. And how I break down resilience is that you need to accept, adapt, overcome, and evolve from any difficult situation in your life. And, that's just how I do it. And that's how it's been. Earlier this year, that changed. Mm-hmm. I think being too resilient, you dehumanize yourself. And I did that. Because for so long, since I was 13, I've been told, Oraya, you're so strong. You're so strong. And subconsciously, Oraya just had to be strong. That's kind of how I built myself to be. Because there is no other way Oraya can be, but Oraya has to be strong. That was just how she doesn't get to be weak. She doesn't get to be vulnerable. She doesn't get to be soft. She has to hold up her shield constantly. And earlier this year, I think I decided, again, some health stuff, but minor, nothing as extensive. But I just realized that, you know what, I need to drop that shield. Because what that shield is doing is I'm constantly pushing against the shield. The shield is constantly pushing against me, and I'm being resilient and I'm being strong, but it's exhausting. Your entire body is tired and it doesn't want to keep fighting back and be resilient. It just wants to be left. So this year, what I've just done is I just took it easy. I just took one job which I could manage. I just took more time to paint, do art, write, introspect. And I keep saying I'm going slower. I know the slow living has become a bit of a fad as well, which is kind of funny because it's happening at the same time where I'm doing it. But I guess things are a fad sometimes because they're great. Like I love my Stanley cup. It's just the most convenient thing to drink water from, okay? It's a fad for a reason. But so yeah, I just kind of put down the shield and I let myself not absorb the pain, but just let the pain pass. And I think that just really helped me settle down and be easy. And I think now I just say that I want to be soft, I want to be held, I want to be taken care of. I don't want to be strong anymore. Like, I don't need to be strong anymore. And I think both things are important in a balance, right? You need that resilience to get through those challenges, but then you also need to know when to stop, because if you don't need to, like if you don't stop and you keep pushing and fighting, you're going to give way. You're going to get tired and you're going to just fall back. So that's, I think, something which I would like to say was very important in life, is generally just to also learn how to be comfortable in your own skin and, like, you know, just do what makes you happy. And I just kind of trust the universe that the rest will be taken care of.
Beautiful. Have you ever felt like you have to give back something to your mom and sister?
Like, one or two things that I want to give back to my mom and sister, I don't think I can ever. In some ways, I feel like, okay, you know, I would say I don't think I can ever give back to them for what they've done for me. But they've made it very clear that, Oraya, we just want you to live the best possible life you can live. And that's what our give back is. They're like, you want to go on trips, you want to, like, you know, take it easy with work, you want to, you like live in Bangalore, like, just as long as you're living a life which you feel every day very happy to have, where, you know, that's our give back. I think every morning when I just call them and tell them I'm here and I'm happy, they're just like, okay, you know, this is all we need, that this child is happy. And it's just like the most beautiful relationship you can have with your family, right? Because that's all they want. They just want you to be happy. And for you to accept that is really big, because I think we constantly have this pushback, that guilt, that, oh, you know, I'm not doing enough. My sister's getting married next month and I'm like constantly like, oh, you know, like I want to help, but like, I feel very exhausted to like take on even a little bit more, because right now I'm on some medication. It kind of like keeps my BP low and whatever. No excuses. I think I just don't want anything on my plate. I love my plate just being empty. I love staring at a blank wall or the sky. So I think that I'm just like, I just communicate and I tell them that, listen, I'm feeling guilty, and then they'll just be like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. I feel like as human beings, we have been so plugged in to be givers. And like, there are obviously givers and receivers, but you need to identify which one you are, and then how much you can do, and then how much you can't.
It's okay to be whatever you want to be. Okay. So how did you make the choice to keep your diagnosis open to public? Not public, to your people.
So the first time, of course, you know, I didn't give any thought into it. My mom was very open about it. We were very vocal about what was happening. We've been a very forward family that way. It's not that I'm doing something wrong, right? Why do we need to hide this? Which is the perception of a lot of families, unfortunately. And like, we would go for these family meetups where other families would say that, you know, we too don't tell. We've changed the girl's name because uski shaadi kaise hoegi after, you know, having like being diagnosed with cancer. We don't want there to be any like relation between the two. And I personally thought it was ludicrous until it happened to me, where someone was just like, oh, you know, I don't think I want to have a, like, you know, anything to do with you because of X, Y, and Z. And yeah, so like people would just change their names, and it was just like a very hide and seek thing, and we didn't understand it because the way we looked at it, the more vocal we are about it, the more support, the more guidance you get. Also, there will be the people who will just say like dumb stuff like, oh, why don't you go for some X, Y, and Z thing. I won't name any things. But there'll also be the people who'll actually be able to help and support you. So we learned it firsthand in the first cancer only that, you know, this is how you can, like, it's better to be open. We personally felt that way. And there was nothing to hide. And when I had cancer the second time, again, obviously we weren't hiding anything, but it was very difficult because I'm like, okay, how do I tell all my friends that I've been diagnosed with cancer? I was really cheap about it. So what I did was just very, like, of course, like my instant close friends knew, but like the next layer of like close friends again, like who I had to tell and they didn't know because they weren't like in the diagnostic part of it. I called them and I said, hey, I have some good news. And they were like, oh my God, you're getting married. And I was like, no, I have cancer. I was a little dark about it.
Okay, so how do I react to this?
And then they were just like, Oraya, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm not kidding. Like, can you come over tomorrow? And I actually threw myself a I got cancer party. So because I was supposed to go for a surgery, like that didn't work out finally, but like I was supposed to go for a surgery within the next 3-4 days. I had like a couple of my friends over. They all got different, like actually it was like a, you know, potluck party where one friend is bringing donuts, one's bringing her dog, one's bringing my favorite hazelnut cheesecake from Big Chill. And I'm just like, okay, here's the party, guys. Like, I have cancer. So we all just hung out that day and just spent time together because I was like, okay, you know, after this, I don't know when I'll be able to hang out with you people. So I want to hang out with you today. And they all showed up for me, and there was no sadness. It was just everyone being chill and hanging out, and it was really nice. And that's how I told my friends that I had cancer. And I think family, of course, mom informed, and I didn't want sappy messages from people saying, oh my God, how are you and stuff. So everyone was told very categorically that, hey, Oraya has cancer, and like no one's to message her because she does not want to receive the messages right now. Whenever she's ready for them, we will open up the chats. And yeah, I think what was difficult for me was, of course, now you've told your close friends, and family will obviously know, and word of mouth people will know in your circle. But with me, what always ends up happening, unfortunately, because I'm A negative blood group, which is very rare, I constantly needed blood during the treatment. And this is really funny because the first time I had cancer also, it was the same thing. I needed blood. So people started broadcasting. BBM was a thing. So people would broadcast that Oraya needs A negative blood, please donate. And those messages are coming to Oraya. And Oraya is just like, okay, cool, like thanks guys, arrange for the blood. We're very sweet. Of course, everyone's trying to make a community effort. But I will say that to truly like people who make an effort, it ends up being like very rarely through those broadcasting things, and it's very truly when you actually go personally and ask 10 people, hey, does anyone have A negative blood, and you arrange for it. Anyway, so now this second time Instagram is in, and it's like the new thing. So suddenly, randomly, word gets out that Oraya needs blood, and this is I think 2 months into my treatment, that everyone starts putting stories on Instagram with my name, which is a rare name, so everyone knows who Oraya is, saying that Oraya needs blood, Oraya needs blood, Oraya needs blood, and she's going through treatment. So everyone in my social network now knows that I had cancer, so it wasn't a choice, but it was kind of like, which I didn't mind, but it was just very, I think, done like distastefully. Unfortunately, they were all trying to help. And what I did was, of course, as a person in the public eye of 1,000 people, because that was my Instagram following, I was like, let me put out a post as a celebrity and tell everyone what is happening. So I put out a post and I was just like, hey everyone, like I have cancer. These are the things that suck, but you know what? I'm gonna do it again. Oraya's oven is open for business. So if you wanna like place some orders, like chart your energy there. And kind of just, yeah, played it off like that. Like that's kind of how it happened. Everyone got to know.
Were you okay with that?
I was, because honestly, like, it didn't affect me, people knowing about it. For me, it's more about, yeah, like, you know, I think I had it the first time, they all knew that I had it once. Had the second time, I was kind of okay with it. So to say, I was comfortable because I was used to it. But I understand for many people, it's a personal preference and they don't like to tell people because of no other reason, but you don't want people to treat you differently, which happens. I will
Yes.
say that there is a certain, like, there are those people who then I kind of just am not interested in as much, but they'll be like, oh yeah, like, they'll treat you, there'll just be like some subtle thing where they'll kind of mention it, or it'll come up, and I'm just like, yeah, like, don't do that. Like, this is not, I had cancer, but cancer is not my life. Cancer is not Oraya,
Yeah.
not vice versa. We're two independent things. And I do advocacy, and I do it for a simple reason where, because I'm open about it, it helps a lot of people.
True.
People do reach out to me initially when my social media would be open, and they'd text me and they'd say that, like, how much just seeing my willpower and my journey helps them deal with their personal challenges, if not like personally with their family, or however they may be touched by this disease, because a lot of people are touched by this disease. So I do find there being value in being open and vocal about it. And yeah, I don't think there's anything to hide, and you just kind of build that wall, right? Boundaries, like people who are making you feel awkward about it, you cut them off.
Nice. So Oraya, your journey has been like through a lot of hardships. It still has been very, very beautiful, is what I understand from all that you've chosen to share with us. Thank you for choosing to share your personal journey. Keeping that aside, what's that one message you would like to give to public?
One message to public. I don't know. I think it would be just as simple as awareness. Be aware of your body. Talk to your body. Like, I mean, if you're feeling a certain kind of pain, something persistent, that was one of the takeaways, right? Like, go in for a checkup. Go to your GP. It doesn't have to be something very elaborate as cancer. It could just be something minor, but why not look into it? The second would be to generally to people. You don't need to treat people with cancer like something which is like, of course, like, respect them, care for them, but like also at the same time, I think don't dehumanize them. I think yeah, that's one more thing. Then the third would just be that when you just feel free to take support from your friends and family, be vocal, communicate, say that, hey, listen, I'm not feeling the best, I need your help, be it mentally, physically, and if you can communicate how you can help, communicate. If you're someone who's on the other end of it, and you have someone who needs care, tell them what you could possibly do for them. Kind of ideate, because they're not in a space to think through what you could possibly do for them. I think the most important thing is don't dehumanize someone's journey by just calling them strong and resilient. They are a human too. They are human too. People tell me, oh, I couldn't have done it if I were you. And I think it's a very painful thing, because I feel like comparing people's problems is something which I don't do. What may be the biggest issue in your life may be something very irrelevant to me, and vice versa. But no one gets to negate each other's problems. So be mindful of that. Because right now I'm telling you so many things, and it comes off very positive and beautiful, and I'm glad, because that's the messaging I like to put across. But yes, I've had a very difficult journey, and there are a lot of nuances to my life. So for you to just be like, wow, like, like, this is incredible, is great. Thank you very much. But also don't forget to humanize the person behind the big smile.
Thank you. Thank you for choosing to be the person you are, and I really hope you stay the same way. Happy, healthy, and fun.
Thank you so much for like doing this and asking questions which really, I feel like hopefully brought a lot of perspective to people.
I'm sure it did. So thank you so much for your time, Oraya.
Thank you for your time, Shilpa.